Hi everyone, so I'm back again, and this time I'm going to do some royal icing with stencils and be a bit different. Those of you that watch me regularly, I usually do flowers, but I thought it'd have a bit of a change, and I'm doing two videos. One using stencils. I'm going to show you two different kinds of stencils with royal icing, and also I'm going to do another video where I'm going to do an Easter egg which I'm going to decorate with flowers and leaves. So we'll get straight onto it. Right, so first of all, it's difficult for me to see my screen from here because I'm doing it a different way around to the way that I normally do. But I have got a stencil here which I've already done. Now if you look at that closely, you'll see that there is a fault on it, on there. And like I said before, whenever I do videos, if I have a fault anywhere, I don't cover it up. I tell you what's gone wrong and how to correct it if it's possible to correct it. The reason for that is because I used a palette knife. As you can see, that's still got some royal icing on it. And my stencil moved when I was doing the first part of it because I started at the top there, so I should have really gone outwards. My fault. But the only reason that I've done that is to show you that if there is a fault, why it's happened, and if the icing is still soft and your sugar paste is firm enough, you can take that off and do it again. Now the stencil I've used for that one is this one here, which is honeysuckle, but I've also got two as well. I got another stencil which is a side border one, so if you want to do that on the top of your cake and then that round the side to go with it, you could do. Now the advantage of doing a stencil like this and letting it dry, which I have done with this is dry, you can dust it to get colour into it. That's why I've done it in white on an ivory background. Now I'm going to do some other stencils, but I've covered the other boards with some coloured sugar paste to show you the difference. So we'll go on to those to start off with. I'll get rid of that one for now. Now I'm going to use two different kinds of stencils. These are the normal stencils that you see, that one there. These are some PME ones that I've got here. These I got from a firm that does them for doing wallpapering and things like that, so if you want to stencil on the wall you could use these, but the stencils are the same as long as you haven't used them for anything else. The other stencil I'm going to show you are these, which are the mesh stencils. I've got quite a few different ones in these, and you get some really intricate borders in them. That's a smaller one there with a cherry blossom. Again, with that you could colour that as well when you've done it. And just pop those to one side. That's another one there. I've got quite a few. I have a lot of stencils. I can't show you them all because there's too many of them. But that's another one there. And this is a bigger one for doing a deeper cake. You probably do it that way up. So I'm just going to put those to one side, and in the other stencils I've also got some sets here that I got from China. And if you're just starting out and you don't want to spend a lot of money, these are fine. The main thing is, remember, they're going to take a long time to come, so make sure you order them well in advance because they're going to take a few weeks to get here. There are some quite nice stencils in here. I haven't used these yet, so what I thought I might do is to use one of these. It was quite a nice one I saw yesterday when I was having a look at them. So you get different and sorted patterns. That's a leafy one. It's got a little bird in it as well by the looks of it. That you get these geometric type stencils as well. There's about 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 stencils in a set. I've got 2 sets of them, so I've got 12 stencils altogether, which is really good value for money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this one because, as I say, I've not used it before. So I'm going to start off with that one. Just pop those out of the way. Now the tools that you can use when you're doing this sort of thing are palette knives. This is actually a paint scraper or a barbecue scraper. I think this is a barbecue scraper, but the paint scrapers are the same. As long as you haven't used them for anything else, that's fine. That's a cranked palette knife. If you want to be able to get above and you don't want to get too far down with it. Then also you've got your other palette knives. Also another thing that you can use, particularly when you're taking the icing off, is a scraper, side scraper for doing royal icing. You can get these in plastic, which are quite cheap as well. The metal ones are more expensive. But basically something with a long blade and a flat blade. I have other utensils that you can use. If you do buttercream and you've got the really big side scrapers, you could use that as well. Although you've a bit more control with something that's a bit smaller. So I'm going to start off by, I've got some royal icing here, and I'll talk about this while I'm putting it on. Now royal icing I always make from egg whites. I don't like the egg white made with artificial substance, the dried egg white or anything like that. It's too much messing about. And I find this is a lot better to work with, and it keeps better as well once you've used it. So get that spread all over your stencil. Make sure you get all your little bits. Just be careful. You see, that's what happened when I got the feathery edge when that did that. And that's a suction from your... So if you can attach it to your cake either with pins or with masking tape or something like that. Take your excess off. Get my scraper. And then just go straight over the top like that and take all the excess off. Like that. Make sure that you keep your royal icing covered once you've used it. Royal icing, to make it, as a rule, I use large eggs, and I use some baby wipes for cleaning that off. Handy thing, saves me having to go away and wash everything. One large egg white, 225 grams of icing sugar, and put it in a standalone mixer with a K-beater if you've got a Kenwood. If you haven't got a Kenwood, the beater that you use for making cakes and things like that, but make sure it's grease free. I always keep one just for that job so that it's not used for anything else. And put it on the slowest speed you can and walk away and leave it for about 15 to 20 minutes and come back and check it. And don't mix it with anything. Don't beat your egg whites up or anything like that. You're beating air into it. You don't want air in it. And that's the rule of thumb. So I'm going to just take this off. So if you just lift it from one side and just take it straight across like that, you can see I've just missed a little bit there. But if you were going to colour it, this is what happens when it lifts up. You get those little splodges that have gone underneath your royal icing if you don't keep it flat. So you need to keep it really firmly on your board. Right, so we'll just put that to one side. Now the next type of stencil are the now I'm not quite sure which is the right side on these. Very difficult to tell because it looks both the same on both sides. So again, you need to make sure that it's kept flat. So what I'm going to do here is, because I'm not doing anything else on here, I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of icing underneath just to hold it down. Because while that's wet, if I'm doing something like that, as long as it's out of the way of your design, you can take that off when you're finished, just to keep that in place like that, so it's nice and flat. These stencils are very fine, a lot finer than your normal stencils, so you will need to be very careful with these. You don't want your icing too thick either. And a tip that I learned from the Evil Genius on here, she has videos on here that brought these over to the UK in the first place. I don't know whether they're imported or not, but she suggests you put some whitener into your icing. Even though it's white, it's not white enough. So she used liquid whitener in hers. I've used a powder whitener, which I put in with the icing sugar. I mixed it in. Right, so once you've got your spread over there, again, holding that down, just go straight across like that and take all your excess off. Got a bit carried away there, put my lid back on, I didn't need to. See, with the best intention, things can still go wrong. And I've just dropped a palette knife on the floor, which I'm not going to pick up. And we'll see how this comes out. So you just peel that off like that. And there's your pattern. So I'm just going to clean that palette knife off, and I'm just going to take the excess icing off that I used on there. This hadn't quite set, so I've got some finger marks in there, but if I was doing it on a cake, I would leave it plenty of time to dry out first before I did this. This time of year it's difficult, being winter time, because it's cold and there's more moisture in there than normal. Doesn't look too bad. As you can see, it's not too in your face with these sort of stencils, and it's very fine. To do this sort of work on a cake without using a stencil would be very difficult. It does make the job an awful lot easier to do. And these mesh stencils, what you get, you probably can't see it on camera, but you get sort of a texturing on the surface. You can see it a bit more on those flowers there. It probably stands out a bit more, where you don't get a flat finish on it, and there's a little bit more detail in it than you would normally get. Now another thing that I'm going to do is show you what you can do when you've done your stencils. Just get that one out of the way. Get that over there. And we'll come back to this one because this one's dry. Now I've already got one here somewhere when I find what I've done with it. There it is. That I did in one of my classes, and with that one what I've done is I've painted it in gold on the detail, so you can see where I've left it white and I've painted that gold. The reason I've painted it gold because it stands out more on a silver board, but in class they can see it a bit better than you can on camera. What I'm going to do with this one is, with this sort of flower, I would dust the colour onto that. So I'm going to get some dusting brushes out. That's a fine one. I would use fine brushes like this if I'm going to do this sort of job. Yeah, I would use that one. I'll just get that out of the way. And we want some green. Don't want to go too dark, I'll use my ginkgo. One of my favourite greens I use a lot. Anybody that's watched my videos will know what I mean. These are all colours from Edible Art, and it's spelt Edible Art. If anybody's, it's not Edible Art. It's Ed, Abe, and I can't remember the other ones. It's three mice from one of the nursery rhymes, so that's where the name comes from. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some green on there, and I'm going to do just dust in the leaves very lightly. Just be careful you don't get too much powder on your brush. Like I said before, when we're doing flowers and leaves and things like that, if you've got too much colour on your brush, you put it onto your kitchen roll and then you get it off your brush, so it's onto your brush, off your brush before you put it on, because if you've got any too much powder on your brushes, it'll flick all over the place and it'll go where you don't want the colour to be. So we'll just go down. I'm not going to do all of this, I'm just going to do one flower really, just to show you what you can do. Right, that's that flower done. And I think with the other one, because my other brush has had yellow on it, I was going to use some yellow. Maybe not. Let's have a look. We'll use another colour on there. We'll use some blackcurrant. Won't affect with the yellow. If you haven't got a lot of brushes, the best thing to do is get some corn flour or icing sugar on a worktop and just work your brush in it to pull the colour out. Best to keep your brush upright so you don't go over the edges. On this one, these are just buds in here, so it's easy enough to dust. As you can see over the other side there, there's some open flowers in as well. Anybody that saw my video on honeysuckle will know. If you go back and have a look at that video, see that on my channel. By the way, don't forget to hit the bell at the bottom of the page. That way you'll know when I upload a new video, which I try and do once a week. I don't always manage it, but I do try. And what I'm going to do is, just at the base of the flowers there, I'm just going to give it a little bit of green, just at the base there. Most flowers have a little bit of green just at the base. Just gives it a little bit more character, so if I bring that up so you can see that a bit closer. I'm only going to do that little bit because I want to get on and do other things as well. So, if you were doing that, in fact I'll leave that board on there because I can do it on there. You could do some piping on there, you could pipe some honeysuckle on there. This is a technique that I learnt at college, and I had a wedding cake dummy in the shop. And a lady came and she, oh, I like that, that's beautiful, is that, and she ordered that for a wedding. It turns out she was a lecturer at Leeds College, and she taught sugarcraft. So I ended up doing her wedding cake. Right, so first of all, I've got a sand here. This is from PME. And it's got a sponge in the bottom which is damp, and the reason for that is because when you do your piping bags, and I will show you in the next video for the Easter egg how to make the bags. I've got some already made here. I've got my scissors out somewhere, there we are. And just take off a small amount at the bottom. Don't take too much off, because if you if your nozzle comes too far out, then it'll slide out at the end with the pressure of the icing. Now, smallest one, I couldn't find my other box of nozzles, so I'm going to use this one. This is 2.5. I'm going to pop that in there. I'm just going to drop that into there for now, and then I'm going to get another piping bag, and in that one, there's my scissors there. I'm going to put in there a leaf nozzle, which is one of these nozzles, which you've got the little V in the middle, and then if you look at the side, you've got two little tiny ones on either side. Pop that in there. Is that far enough out? So, yeah, that'll do. Far enough. Now I'm going to do all this in white, because what I would do is, when this is dried, then I would dust it the same as I've done with the detail on the other one, on the stencil that I've done. So I'm not going to put a lot of icing in here, because I'm only going to do a little bit. A lot of people tend to overfill the bags. Don't overfill them. It shouldn't be more than half full, this bag, because if it does, when you come to close your bag, it will all come over the top. So don't put too much in. Fold down. So you're starting off like that. Press your bag together, fold down, fold in, and then fold down again, like that. So that's ready to go. Drop that into there. Some oil icing in there. I'm not putting too much in, because the trouble is you waste a lot of it if you do that, you know. And if you do a lot of piping, you find, so again, fold down, fold in. I'm folding away from the crease, by the way, so that I can keep that crease nice and tight, and then fold down again. Basically all you need to be able to do is just press with your thumb, and it comes out at the end like that. So you hold it between those two fingers and press down with your thumb. I know that those of you that know how to pipe, it's like teaching your grandma how to suck eggs. Well, there's a lot of people that watch videos that don't know how to do it, so I'm covering all bases here. And that can go into there. So I'm going to start with this one first of all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pipe some vines down like that. Lift it up and lay it down where you want it to go, like that. Do another one this way. Always do odd numbers. Okay, so that's your stems. Right, now then, the flowers. Basically all it is a squeeze and an S like that. Do a small one. Smaller one still. Bigger one. Don't make them all the same size. You want various different sizes. So you want some bigger and some smaller. So you've got your outer buds and your inner buds. Just put another one there to cover the end of that stem up there. That's it. You could do more than that if you wanted to. It just depends on how big you want it to be. So then you want your leaves. Now then, the way you pipe your leaves, you want the deeper cuts on that side to be so it's flat like that, and the little V in the top here will form the centre of your leaves. So just turn it over the other way like that. So when you do your leaves, squeeze, pull, squeeze, pull, squeeze, pull, squeeze, pull, squeeze, pull. Then we go to the other side. I'm doing in between because it just look more interesting if you do it that way. There we are, that's one. The one thing I should mention here, and I'll show you in a minute, a leaf nozzle doesn't just have to be for leaves. So I show all my students that. They say, well, if I buy that, what else am I going to use it for? Well, you can use it to do a border as well. So if you just come round this side here and you just squeeze, pull, squeeze, pull, squeeze, pull, squeeze, pull, squeeze, pull, squeeze, pull, you've got a nice border. Something totally different rather than using your serrated nozzles or your plain nozzles. It's just a different way of doing a border and making it look more interesting. With piping, there's a lot of things that you can do by experimenting with the nozzles that you've got. So it's just a matter of making some royal icing up, get a board covered. We don't necessarily have to cover it with sugar paste, but if you want to keep it as a practice board so you can refer back to it, play with little things. And the thing is, once you've done something like that while it's still wet, you can take it off and use that again and do another pattern on it. So we never waste anything. We always try and make as much use as we can with everything. Right, we'll just get rid of that one. And I'll come back to this one. I left a little bit at the bottom because I thought I'd do a little bit of... just pop those into there so they don't dry out. That's to stop your tips from drying out. That's why I use that. They're not that expensive to buy. So, but if you haven't got that, a clean sponge or even some kitchen roll with some water in it to make it damp to put over the edge of your tips will do, just to stop them from drying out while you're using them. Right, back to that. So I've got some gold powder here. These are called short syringes because they've got a big tip on, but they come in handy for this sort of job when you're going to do some piping on something. I always use the lid as a palette. Then if you just drop some of that into there like that. I've got a brush I've already used here. If you just reconstitute your colour that you've already got in there, so you're back, and I haven't put any more in there, and then just go in and just gently, if you go around the edge of your design, to paint your little bits in and just fill it in like that. Very easy to do, even if you haven't got a steady hand, which I haven't. I don't do a lot of painting for that reason, 'cause particularly as you get older you find you get more shaky. A friend of mine would back you up on that because she's terrible with the shakes. There we are. So then you've got your design done in gold. So if you wanted to do something really intricate on a gold, as long as you've got the patience to do it, but just remember, if you are doing it for a customer that's paying for it, make sure you charge enough for it, because it's a long job painting things like that. So that's it for now. I'm going to go off and then I'll be back with another video to do the Easter egg. Speak to you soon. Take care and stay safe.